Hi everyone, this special video and podcast series starts with a conversation about the special town meeting to be held November 2nd, 2025 at 1 p.m. in the Corey Auditorium of the Carlisle Public Schools. And in this episode, I'm joined by a very special guest because we're going to talk about the town meeting itself, the logistics, and the content. So I'm Ryan McLean, I'm the town administrator here in Carlisle, and I'm joined by the very famous
Wayne Davis, town moderator.
So Wayne's not someone I have to introduce to the town, but the effort that he puts in, I'm not sure that everybody knows. I'd like to thank you for all the volunteerism you do to help us get ready for these town meetings. There's a lot of staff work, but there's a ton of volunteer work, and I'm not sure there's anyone who puts in more time than you. So
There are plenty of people, select board, planning board, and all the citizens who have been engaged on the various issues. So thanks to everyone really for participating in town democracy.
I knew you were going to give credit to other people. That's why I gave credit to you.
Okay, thank you.
So this special town meeting is going to have a few meaty topics in it. It's going to be a very interesting conversation and example of democracy, as you said. So the first article that will be discussed is MBTA Communities Act compliance, which is an important zoning issue where the town is trying to be compliant with a state mandate for housing under the MBTA Communities Act. Then the town will consider fire station renovation. So the town is proposing a fire station renovation, and this particular article will talk about funding necessary for the design of that project. Included in the presentation will be information about the design and the potential future project, and I think residents will be very interested to hear more about that. And lastly, the Historical Commission is recommending a demolition review bylaw, which will be the last topic discussed at town meeting. So only 3 articles, but a lot going on, and we expect a pretty big crowd, right?
That's right. The history in Carlisle, generally we get around 200 to 300 people at most town meetings where there's a really big issue. For example, when we had voting funding for the new high school or the renovation or the new buildings at the Carlisle Public Schools, we would generally get around 400 to 450 people. That's really been the max over the last 20 years or so. However, we know from what other communities have experienced with this MBTA zoning that they often break records. So we're going to be prepared for 1,000 people to come to town meeting. We only have 4,100 registered voters approximately. So that's actually a very big turnout. So we need to be prepared. So we'll be using the full Corey Auditorium, the cafeteria, and we will also have overflow in the gym at the school. So that's a lot of people. So there's what we're planning to do is we'll have lots of check-in stations. However, it's still going to be a lot of people. So we're asking everyone, please show up early. Don't expect that you can show up at 12:55 on Sunday afternoon and be in your seat in 5 minutes. That's not going to happen. So please come early. It's like showing up at the airport. The plane's going to take off. As soon as we have our quorum of 150, we're going to get started. We're not going to wait for latecomers. So please get there early. That's the first thing that people need to know. The second thing that people need to know about the logistics, and this again is very unusual for Carlisle, but we feel that it's necessary under the circumstances. We know that the MBTA zoning discussion is going to be controversial and it's going to take a long time. We also anticipate that the demolition delay bylaw discussion will be probably fairly intense and involved as well. We don't know how long that will take. Fire station, big financial issue. So the select board has recommended, and with my concurrence, that what we do is split this town meeting, just plan for it to run 2 days. So on Sunday, we will take up the MBTA issue, and that will be the sole article. And then on Monday evening, we will have the 2 articles about the fire station and the demolition delay bylaw.
And while the crowd size seems large, the evidence suggests with all the community hearings that we've had and all of the planning board meetings that have happened that there is just significant interest in this event. And of course, there'll be people that just come to town meetings. So if you combine those 2 things, 1,000 people seems like a lot, but we need to make sure we have space for everyone.
Yes.
Also, I think people are used to voting in the auditorium with overflow, maybe in the cafeteria. The gym is a new add. So for those who care about where they sit and where they want to be, there's another reason to show up early.
Absolutely. So details are still being finalized with our town clerk. But what I anticipate is that the first 600 people or so who get in, they will be directed to the cafeteria or to the auditorium. If you really want to make sure you're in the auditorium, then definitely get there early. We'll fill those up, and if we don't get more than 600 people, then we don't have to use the gym. But if we do get up that high, then we will start as the third outcome is to send people down to the gym.
All right, great. So next I want to talk about the specifics of voting on the MBTA Communities Act. So there is several options in this zoning requirement, and I know that you have some details on voting about it that I think would be important for people to know.
Sure, yes. This is very unusual for Carlisle, and as a matter of fact, it's fairly unusual anywhere in Massachusetts. Sometimes other towns have had experience with multiple budget proposals, but it's fairly clear how to deal with it. You vote on the highest one first and then work your way down, and whichever one first gets a majority, that's the budget that's adopted. Zoning is different. It's not clear what the sequence should be, and we know that the planning board is going to probably be putting 3 proposals in front of us. Might be 2, might be 4, we'll see when they're done. But still, we have to come up with a voting system that meets a couple of very, very important criteria. First of all, it needs to be fair. Whenever you have multiple choices, how you do it can be manipulated. And so we need to have a system that is fair both objectively, and there's lots of scholarly work on what is a fair voting system, but also subjectively it needs to be fair. People need to look at it, understand it, and feel like, yeah, that makes sense. The second thing is it's really important that it be what we call sequence independent. We know from when you choose sides on the school ground for teams that the order in which people get the opportunity to pick can really matter. But you need to have a voting system where it doesn't matter whether choice A, choice B, or choice C is the first one that's put in front of the voters. And it turns out that it takes some thinking to get it to be sequence independent. Third criteria is it needs to satisfy the Attorney General's review. Now, the Attorney General will be reviewing what we come up with, both substantively, does our zoning proposal comply with the law, but also procedurally, is the voting method that we use, is it going to pass muster with the Attorney General? And the last, and I would say the most important, is that we need to have something that best reflects the voters' will. Now, we know that there are a lot of divergent views in town, and so it's going to be a majority vote, and we need to have something that best represents the community's will, understanding that some proportion of people are going to be unhappy no matter what we choose, but still it's the community's will. That's what democracy is about. So that's the big challenge that we have.
So you've clearly thought about this a lot. So you have a strategy.
Yes, I've thought about it a lot. Fortunately, ever since the citizens petition was first developed last winter, asking the town meeting, which it approved in May, to approve putting multiple proposals in front of this special town meeting that we're having now, I knew we would have this challenge. So the solution is something, I gave it a name, sequential head-to-head voting. And it's actually fairly simple. So let's say we have 3 proposals, call them A, B, and C. So each one will be paired against the other, and we're using our electronic voting, which has just 2 buttons. So first we'll do A versus B, then we'll do A versus C, and then the third vote will be B versus C. So each of the proposals will be matched against the others. That will produce a preliminary winner. If people are voting rationally, one of those proposals should win both matchups. For example, if A beats B and A beats C, then A will be our preliminary winner, no matter what happened between B and C. So once we have that preliminary winner, then we have to have a fourth and final vote. Now, this fourth vote will look just like the usual up and down vote that we would have on most zoning proposals, or frankly, anything that we have. When it's the budget, FinCom proposes something, we vote, do we want it? Yes or no, up or down. So what we're going to do is we'll take that preliminary winner, again, assume it was proposal A in my example, and the final vote will be proposal A, yes or no, do you want it or not? Now that does a couple of important things. First, it looks like a conventional zoning vote, so it's pretty likely to pass the Attorney General's muster. And I've consulted with town council and other town moderators, and everyone feels pretty confident that it will pass that muster. But the other thing is that we've heard from people in town, they would like the option, they would like clearly to be given the opportunity to say none of the above. We don't like A or B or C. If that's the people's will, we need to give them the opportunity to express that. So this voting method will get us to that conclusion. So again, what we have is 3 preliminary votes, each of the proposals against each other, and then the preliminary winner that comes out of that will subject it to a fourth and final vote, yes or no. Now there's one little wrinkle, because I've had to worry about this for months. What happens if people are not fully rational? Which I know that never happens in Carlisle,
Ever.
But just assuming that it might. And what I mean by that is suppose A beats B, B beats C, but then C beats A. That's can happen. So it's very rare, but just in case it does, we need a tiebreaker. And the tiebreaker is that you add the results that each proposal got in its 2 matchups. So say proposal A got 300 and 400, proposal B got 250 and 275, and proposal C got 500 and 100. So what we'll do is we'll just add up those votes and see which one got the greatest total number of votes, and that's our tiebreaker. That will be the preliminary winner, which then goes to that final vote. Did all of that make sense?
Of course,
Robin?
it was crystal
Of
clear.
course. Okay, and we'll be putting, I know we've got some slides up that will show what this is, and it's really actually pretty simple in application.
So the vote will take a little time, which is why we're recommending people to get there early, because there's going to be a lot of debate on the floor and discussion about each one of the proposals. And I'm sure that you'll make it clear when the voting starts.
Absolutely, yes.
And we plan to put the rules up on the projector so that people can see and go over it, answer questions about it, so that the voting is clear.
Yes, absolutely. We'll be doing that, and once this is totally finalized, and I just need to wait to know exactly how many proposals the planning board will put in front of us to finalize this. But once we do, we'll be posting it on the town website, announce it in the Mosquito and through other media.
Yeah, we're all waiting for those proposals, but we also know the planning board's working very hard on this.
They are working very hard.
And trying to get it right, so it does take time.
Absolutely.
So we mentioned in here floor debate, and it's another topic I want to talk to you about. So
Yes.
let's go over some of the floor debate rules. There are people who have never been to town meeting. There are people who've been there for decades. What may or may not be different about this town meeting?
Okay, so we're actually going to be operating under the same rules and procedures that we've been that we used in the spring, and that it's sort of our standard. But because of the number of people and the length of the debate, I've heard from a lot of people in town, they say, Wayne, sometimes you're a little too loose and too nice to people and let them talk too much and let them go over the limit. And so I'm not going to do that here. It's going to be a little bit of tough love. So what we'll do is we'll have, and this will apply as much to the demolition delay bylaw and the vote on the fire station. So we'll have the initial presentation, and in the case of the MBTA, it will be all the proposals will be laid out to everyone at the outset. We hear reports from other town boards and committees who may have a view on the article. And again, this applies to all 3 articles. Then there will be a question and answer period. Now, we're going to have a time limit on questions there, and you're only going to get one bite at the apple, one question. And it's going to be 1 minute. It's got to be a genuine question, no hiding advocacy in the form of a question. And so we'll take questions and answers for some period of time. We'll just have to see how long it goes. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes on the demolition delay bylaw, maybe longer on the zoning. We'll just have to see. When we get to the floor debate, then it's 2 minutes. And what I do ask and encourage people, be prepared. You're going to be talking to hundreds of people, maybe as many as 1,000. Most people get a little bit nervous. If you've been thinking about this and feel passionate enough that you know that you want to speak, then put your thoughts together, write down some notes, be prepared, be concise. Don't repeat arguments. If someone has said, the previous speaker or 2 speakers before said something that you agree with, don't just repeat it. Just say, Mr. McLean said something a few speakers back, about X. I agree with him. And then go on and make a new argument. The town does not appreciate people droning on and repeating arguments. And then the final thing that I really want to emphasize is that you are very highly unlikely to get multiple bites at the apple. Sometimes we have people, jack-in-the-boxes, who try to pop up and talk 3 or 4 more times just because no one else is standing and waiting to speak. Well, we expect to have a lot of people will want to voice their opinion, and I will not recognize you to speak again if we've got other people waiting. And if we've had 2.5 hours of debate on whatever these things are, and there's no one else waiting to speak, I'm not going to recognize you a second time for you to make yet another argument. We're going to go to a vote. So if people are prepared and concise, the rest of the town, your friends, your neighbors will be very, very appreciative.
Yes, and I won't be speaking during the debate part, so you don't have to worry about recognizing me.
It'd
be highly unethical.
Well, sometimes it's important. I don't know. It's entirely possible that someone might pose a question, and if you are the right person to give the answer, then that's what the town wants and the town expects, and I will ask you to give the answer.
All right, we'll see if I do it.
We'll see.
So we have discussed many things here. We talked about town meeting logistics for up to 1,000 people, and we haven't even envisioned a scenario where there'd be more than that. But we're hoping that we have talked about the top limit. We talked about the voting, which is going to be very well done, but maybe difficult to understand until you process the MBTA votings, and then some of our floor debate rules, because we expect a lot of really good, engaging debate.
Absolutely. Oh, and one other question that I often get, people ask, are we still going to do the remote location at Benfield? And the answer is yes. We've got a small room there that can accommodate up to about 20 people. So that's for the residents at Benfield if they do not wish to come to town center, but also anyone else if for whatever reason they don't want to be in a large crowd, that is available, but space is limited there.
All right, 1,000 people, 4 locations, and 3 pretty interesting topics. Sounds like it's going to be a fun time.
It will be a blast.
I've been joined by our moderator, Wayne Davis. This has been our podcast and video on town meeting and what to expect at town meeting. If you have any questions, please visit the website. We'll be posting all the materials to include backup documentation and everything you need. And you can reach out to any of your town officials, myself, or any of your elected officials to gather more information about these processes and the actual content of the articles. And we encourage you to do so, because not only do we want you to get there early, but we'd like you to be as informed as possible so we can get all of this in.
Oh, and there's one other really, really important thing that people need to know.
We're playing the Patriots game during the...
No, I hadn't thought about that.
We're
but
right
actually,
behind you. We'll put the Patriots game.
No. There was a very fair criticism that when we tried our first Sunday town meeting in the spring, that it went really long and people, got home late for dinner. That's not going to happen. If we need to have a vote to close debate, then we will have that. But we will get people home for dinner.
I appreciate that.
And a lot of people will, I'm sure.
All right, thank you, and reach out if you have any more questions.